Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Platitude Era podcast, where we do movie reviews, talk, and more. And I don't know, what else do we do? We pretty much cover everything. So, welcome to the Platitude Era podcast. And in this episode of the podcast, we will be reviewing the latest Marvel movie, Spider-Man: Far From Home, the sequel to Spider-Man: Homecoming. To quote a great YouTuber, let's see if we can get a couple likes on this video. What is our goal for this video?
To get a couple likes for this video.
All right, so if we get a couple likes on this video, then we will make another video. Synopsis on this, it's pretty much a superhero road trip movie. So it's like the National Lampoon's European Vacation meets superheroes. Good synopsis? Bad?
Fair enough.
Alrighty. So we'll begin with analyzing different parts of the movies because we love to talk about movies. We love to talk about every aspect of movie, behind the scenes, in front of the scenes, production, theater release, distribution, marketing. We love to talk it all. We'll talk about every single little detail, and we begin with marketing. Marketing, got to give it an A+. The marketing was everywhere, product tie-ins, and let's not forget the biggest nugget of information that happened. This movie made box office records, really high, a lot of money for 4th of July.
I guess so.
And if you checked into the news every day, they said, wow, Spider-Man on Tuesday release made over $20 million. Wednesday, over $20 million. 4th of July, it was consistent, and it ended up over the weekend, what, 100 and something $million, and a global tally?
I saw like 195, I think, something like that.
195, and that's just in the U.S. And worldwide, is it already at over 500 million?
Well, I see, I think 180, or I'm seeing 185, so I'm guessing that's global, and then I'm seeing 92. Well, that says weekend. I don't know, man. I didn't fucking look this stuff up. You did.
Look,
185.
Just take our word for it, people. This movie made a lot of money, so we have to rate the marketing campaign on this A+. Excellent effort. And it was also smart to add to the marketing that this movie follows Avengers Endgame. So I know I was talking to somebody that works at a movie theater, and they told me that they were really busy for Spider-Man since its release on Tuesday. What was that, July 2nd?
Yeah.
That they were busy, and they said it was smart marketing because people want to know what's going to happen with the Marvel Universe moving forward, with the Great Snap, which they gave it an interesting name in this one, correct?
Yeah, they call it the Blip.
Wow, check it out. Now we're going to move on to the story. How would you rate the story, or what do you have to say about the story?
Well, I'm going to say the story, here's like the story. This movie can be kind of split into two parts, which it's interesting that you brought up the connection between this and National Lampoon's European Vacation, because at first this movie was boring and uninteresting, just like National Lampoon's European Vacation. I want to say quiet, I'm not done talking. The first half of this movie is really slow because it's just a whole lot of travel and high school stuff, and it's okay, but I wanted to see a Spider-Man movie. This movie's got really high ratings, 90 whatever on Rotten Tomatoes, but oh boy, it's just kids going to fucking Venice and then Bronx. Okay, just move. Please, I want a Spider-Man movie. We're Spider-Man. He's not doing any Spider-Man shit. Then eventually he starts doing Spider-Man shit, and then it becomes a Spider-Man movie, and then that is when it possibly becomes one of the best MCU movies.
Best Marvel
one
movie.
Of.
Up there.
Yeah, there's varying reasons why I enjoyed this movie so much, and that can come later towards the spoiler talk.
Now, this is where we differ a little bit. I really liked the whole movie from the beginning to the end. I loved the story. It was a very unique and original take on Spider-Man. It was pretty much you have Spider-Man, but with that nostalgia of 80 movies. It had National Lampoon's European Vacation, and I felt
which nobody likes.
I felt a little bit of Fast Times at Ridgemont High, just like the high school kids.
I feel like Homecoming leaned a little more heavily on the high school comedy thing. This movie's like feels more like a teen rom com, I guess. It has that. It
Correct.
has those kinds of elements. It's a road trip movie. You know, it's like, oh, we're in wacky places. How are we supposed to navigate? Like Europe's so strange to us, boorish Americans. I feel like that. You know, that's where it has ties to. But I don't know. Like I said, it felt a little slowly paced just because there wasn't more. When are they going to get to the fireworks factory? That's what I was wondering.
That's our favorite quote. So, compared to the critics and audience score, they gave it a high 90. What would you grade the story? What's the rating you would give the story?
Uh, 90 feels a bit too high. I mean, considering how meh I felt in the first half of the movie. I mean, let's say mid 80s or something. You know, it seems weird. It's kind of doubling back on my one of the best MCU movies, but you know, it had some pretty high highs later
It's
on in the
just
movie.
the beginning is what like did it for you. That it just you were waiting for Spider-Man.
For a 2 hour plus movie, I feel like, let's say the first 40, 45 minutes are really lagging. You know, do a little snip snip here and there.
Yeah, I agree with the audience and the critics. I give this the story a 90 just because it was original and it blended in the 80s movies in a smart way. Now, moving on to the acting, pretty much, what can we say about Tom Holland? He owns a Spider-Man character.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like everyone has a thing growing up. Like Star Wars is for some kids, or like My Little Ponies for some kids, or Legos or for some kids. I feel like my thing was Spider Man, and I didn't realize how much I missed Spider Man. And like after Spider Man 3, like the Sam Raimi movie, like boy, these Amazing Spider Man movies suck, and there's nothing I can scratch my itch for Spider Man. And then he came to the MCU in Civil War, and it was great. And then Homecoming came out, and it was great. And then the PlayStation game came out, and it was great. And then this movie came out, and it was great. And it's like, boy, I am so glad to be such a huge Spider-Man fan because Spider-Man is currently crushing it right now, and I am in love.
And we
Except
can't
for
say much
Venom.
about we can't say much. Venom's a hard sell. He's pretty much a what is a supporting character, or he works well in an ensemble, but by himself, not so good.
Yeah,
So pretty much we can't say much about all the actors in this movie, the returning players, because they did their thing and they did a really good job. Tom Holland, great. Zendaya, awesome. Spider-Man's friend, Ned, awesome. But we got to talk about newcomer Jake Gyllenhaal, and I felt he was a really smart addition to the role, to the cast, and just the way he played his character. Bravo, man! He's awesome.
yeah. I mean, like he's got a very layered character. He's one of the like sometimes it feels like a bit of a ploy. Like oh we got this big like oh we got a big actor to play a part in our movie just so we can draw more asses into seats or whatever. And it's like oh
For
you only got
example,
Ben
Robert
Kingsley and
Redford.
you got Ben Kingsley into nobody cares about Robert Redford. You got Ben Kingsley or Harrison Ford in the Ender's Game. So kids who like Star Wars will watch Ender's Game, I guess. But I don't like you get Michael Keaton as the Vulture, and then you get Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio, and I don't know. They're so great, so nuanced, so layered. They're just fantastic characters, and they bring so much depth to like all these characters in the movie, and you can't help but love it.
And what's a nice little tidbit here was that Jake Gyllenhaal auditioned for the role of Spider-Man in what was it? The early
Well,
2000s.
I think he was. I guess he auditioned for the first movie, didn't get it, lost it to Tobey Maguire. Tobey Maguire injured his back for Seabiscuit and might not have been in Spider-Man 2, and it was on the table to replace Tobey Maguire with Jake Gyllenhaal for Spider-Man 2.
So bravo, coming first full circle and being in a Spider-Man movie. And
Yeah,
the character that he plays, Mysterio, definitely would love to see this character again. There's a lot of Marvel characters that you see them one time and you're hoping, oh man, I hope to see this character again and again.
yeah. I'm gonna say Mysterio is kind of like a lower tier character. Like Mysterio's probably not at the top of the list for people when they think of the Spider-Man franchise.
Moving on to directing. Uh, what do you have to say about directing? I just noticed there was this one scene in the movie, and people have seen it in the trailer, where Spider-Man is fighting the water monster.
Mm,
Uh, CG didn't look that good.
yeah, but I mean, I'm guessing they saved it for other sequences in the movie that can be talked about later, maybe. Well, I mean,
It's
that
just,
sequence wasn't super great on the CG, but I mean, there was a lot probably that went into that sequence or in later sequences, and they probably didn't care super hard about the CG for the monsters in the movie.
and I was impressed with the way that they filmed a lot of this movie. It seemed very open world, very big, where you and I were just talking about Men in Black internationally, where they were trying to make this big global film, and it
Mm-hmm.
felt small, how the shooting style was very narrow, so you couldn't see the soundstage. And in this one, you actually felt like you were in a big city in danger.
Yeah, I mean, you go to a few locations per city as opposed to each location in Men in Black where it's a street and then that's it. That's all you're gonna see for this city. Maybe and then a street versus this like hey, I don't need to go to Venice anymore. I saw Venice in this movie. I'm good.
And I got to see Venice being featured in an exciting manner, being torn up by a water monster.
Mm. Get it? Because Venice is sinking.
And then this monster just completely drowned Venice.
Mm.
Another thing I have to mention about the directing is it felt like the director used the style of Sam Raimi. I felt like this movie could have also fit as the fourth Spider-Man movie in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man filmography.
Okay, elaborate.
Um, the way Tom Holland played Tobey Maguire. No, I'm sorry, the way Tom Holland played Spider-Man. I felt at times I was like watching. Wait, did you study under Tobey Maguire? Or did you watch Tobey Maguire's movies to get some of Spider-Man's mannerisms? He had that look, of the innocent, naive person.
Well, I mean, that's just the role of Peter Parker. That's what Peter Parker's supposed to be.
And then there were these scenes where Spider-Man was swinging through the city, and
Yeah,
it
didn't
just. I'm sorry.
I
Go
was
ahead.
gonna say like or I think the standalone Spider-Man movies don't really have a lot of Spider-Man swinging. Like hey, it's Spider-Man. He swings through the cities, and yeah, the Raimi movies had a lot, and we don't talk about the Amazing Spider-Man movies. But yeah, like not a whole ton of like. Hey, in the first one, he's in Queens. Yeah, he's in Queens, and like not a bunch of tall buildings there. And then like in this one, he's in Manhattan for a little bit. But that's kind of the best, most exciting parts of the Spider-Man movies when he swings through that concrete jungle, and I kind of want more of that.
And we'll might likely get it in the next one, right?
Yeah, who knows when that's coming though? Is it coming for Phase 4? Do I gotta wait till Phase 5?
Good question. Anything else you want to say about the directing?
I mean, there's nothing really stand out for me in the directing. I mean, all the actors had good performances. I don't know how much of that's the directing or that's just how good this cast is. They're probably like, it's a Spider-Man movie, but you got like, seven side characters and you want to see them all in every movie, I guess.
Anything you want to add about the movie before we move into our recommendation?
I mean, nah. At this point, it came out over the long Fourth of July weekend, and it made a shit ton of money. If you didn't see it, then I guess you don't like Spider-Man. I don't know what to tell you.
So, what's your recommendation?
Yeah, go for it. I mean, it's good. It's a nice closer to Phase 3. It fits nicely into this universe. It sets up some things for the future. It fits well. I might like this more than Homecoming, or it might be on par with Homecoming. I don't know. But I mean, as far as I'm concerned, they hit two home runs with their Spider-Man franchise, and I can see them continuing down this road for a long time.
My recommendation is don't miss it. This is an exciting film, and this is the reason why you go to the movies to see something that you can't see in real life. It's smart storytelling, well directed, well acted. It's a small piece of a giant story arc that spans multiple movies and different characters. So don't miss it. Anything else you want to say as far as recommendation?
No, you already asked me that.
Well, I want to add stay till the very end of the movie. You got to sit through the movie. There are nice little clips or stingers or teasers throughout the credits, so stay until the very end. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Alrighty. Community question. Last time you said one. This time it's my turn. Have you seen the Spider-Man movie? If you haven't,
That's your
why
fucking
haven't you?
question? Kiss my ass. That's stupid. Ask a good
Okay.
question.
Okay. What's a good question?
I don't know. Ask a good question. I don't like this question. Ask a good question. I'm in the
Favorite
community. That's a stupid ass question.
favorite
Who's your
Spider-Man
favorite
movie?
Spider-Man villain? Boom, I finished it for you.
Okay, that's a community question. Name your
Who
favorite
do you want to see in
Spider-Man
the next
villain.
Spider-Man movie?
Even better, who do you want to see in the next Spider-Man villain? So everyone, you got quite a few questions to answer. We expect to see them in the comment questions of our YouTube video if you're watching it, or if you're listening to us on Spotify. Hey, check out the Anchor app, download it, send us a voicemail so we can hear your voices and hear what you have to say. Share your thoughts. Now, I bought you some time because we're moving into the spoiler section. So if you haven't seen the movie or don't want to be spoiled, click the pause button, do what you got to do, come back and push play. And for those of you that are moving on with us, this is a spoiler section. Give yourselves a high five, virtual high five through the screen, or if you're listening to us in a podcast audio.
Fucking get to it. What are you, the fucking first half of Far From Home? Jesus Christ.
Spoilers. You want to go first, or should I?
The Mysterio illusion sequence is the best thing I've seen in any MCU movie. Sorry, Doctor Strange, you're lost out to trippy visuals. Mysterio illusions are better than anything I've seen in Doctor Strange.
I agree. Mysterio's illusions were awesome. Blew my mind.
I mean, it felt like a video game. I'd seen some comparisons where, like, there's a sequence in the Batman Arkham Asylum game where, like, the Scarecrow drugs you up, and it's like it's just a bunch of crazy visual stuff. And this movie has a lot of that. And I don't know, it's just so surprising. Like, Mysterio's not a heavy hitting villain. A lot of people thought, like, oh man, we're never going to see a Mysterio villain. That's you're going to get like some big brutish kind of guy that throws a bunch of punches at Spider-Man and is a physical opponent. Whereas, I mean, this is more psychological or something. Just there's so much visual creativity going on with like the illusions that happens in this movie. I don't know. It was creative and unique and interesting, and I loved it.
Yeah, what I liked about Mysterio was the same thing I liked about the Baron Zemo character in Captain America Civil War. Just an ordinary guy that figured out a way to defeat a superhero using his mind, wits, and intelligence.
I mean, if you kind of boil it down, you could technically argue that the main villain of this movie is a fleet of drones, which sounds really stupid and boring. But then when you put the layer of Mysterio on it and how he's just like using the drones to create illusions to pretend to be the superhero, and then he throws all these illusions at Spider-Man. Like, there's so many times in this movie where you don't know what's an illusion, what's real, and just, oh man. Who'd have thought that Mysterio would be so good?
And the way Tom Holland sells it too.
Oh yeah, like at points like when he figures out like, hey, Mysterio's the bad guy. Spoiler, because we're in the spoiler section, and It's like I don't know who to trust. I don't know what's an illusion. What is and isn't illusion. I mean, there's a scene where you think that like, oh, we apprehended Mysterio, the job's done. Thank God for Nick Fury. Oh wait, no, that was also part of illusion. What's real? The subway is apparently.
And Jake Gyllenhaal, once again, we can finally talk about what made him a great actor. So everybody who's ever seen the Spider-Man cartoon, read the comic, knows Mysterio's a supervillain. I'm watching this movie, and Jake Gyllenhaal's playing Mysterio, and he's playing it like, oh, hey, guys, I'm from another dimension, and, there's trouble and everything, and because of the snap, our universes are colliding. And I believed that he was from another dimension. I believed in the multiverse that he was selling.
Well, I mean, if anybody with two brain cells to rub together would know that, hey, Mysterio is a bad guy. If you know anything about the Spider-Man villains, you know Mysterio's a bad guy. This guy calling himself Mysterio, and he's got a fucking fishbowl for a head. He's the bad guy.
Oh man, but he sold me on it. I went along with the ride too. I said, "Wow, I can't wait to see Spider-Man 3, the further adventures of Mysterio and Spider-Man."
Eh. I'd heard it like an idea, a concept or an idea that would like it would have been cool if Jake Gyllenhaal came into this movie as a different character, not Mysterio, and then eventually midway through the movie, when he makes his turn and he is discovered or realized to be Mysterio and not whoever he was initially played to be. That would have been like a cooler twist.
But that's
Like, oh,
what
he's
happened.
the Punisher, or I don't know, whatever, some ally for Spider-Man that's like, maybe middling or not super well known, only for like to the major comic book nerds, and then it's revealed, oh, he's Mysterio. That would have been a better turn.
Oh, I don't know. I like this one because you think that Ant-Man's supposed to be heist films, and then in
Mm.
this one it's like, well, Mysterio pulled a better heist and a bigger con than Ant-Man, and I love that big reveal. I was like, hey, I conned everybody. Everybody fell for it. I pulled the ultimate heist, and I stole Spider-Man's tech.
Yeah,
And just like how Avengers Endgame uh, linked everything from multiple span of Marvel films, this followed Avengers Endgame's footsteps, and I loved how they were able to uh, fit in a bunch of things from earlier movies into this one. Like in Captain America Civil War, Tony Stark invented that augmented reality. No, it turns out that Jake Gyllenhaal invented it, and Tony Stark disrespected him by giving him like a really bad name. He's like, "Oh, hey, you created this cool illusion, augmented reality. I'm gonna call it Barf." And then you had the other guy who was in the original Iron Man movie that got chewed out by the dude, the Big Lebowski. He's like, "Hey, build this Iron Man suit just like Tony Stark." And I love this was much better than if Sony would have done Amazing Spider-Man 3 versus the Sinister Six. You had a Sinister Six type movie here, but it was just a bunch of people fired from Stark Industries that came together.
yeah. I mean, it's fun to see a bunch of callbacks. I mean, I guess it technically is like a like, hey, we're bringing in people from the previous movies. I mean, the Vulture kind of is that in Homecoming, where it's like, oh, he was a cleanup. He was part of a cleanup crew for after the first Avengers movie, but then he was wronged, and then in this, it's like, oh, he was in Civil War the whole time, and he was wronged, and here's the guy from the first Iron Man, but he was wronged. I mean, I'd like them to keep that trend going for the next Spider-Man movie. Like, oh, here's the guy. Here's like, let's see, what's something stupid. I don't know, maybe someone from Iron Man 3. Nobody liked that one. Bring in some guy from Iron Man 3 into this, and like, oh, he's this, and then oh, he winds up to be whatever. I don't know.
One of the guards or the henchmen that worked for the Mandarin was wrong.
Yeah,
The only reason Tony Stark defeated the Mandarin because I was his spy on the inside. And then once the mission was solved, he turned me in and never came out that I was a spy on the inside. Like
yeah. I'm curious if they're gonna go like, because I mean, you have Vulture's still alive. You set up the Scorpion in the last movie. It's kind of vague whether or not Mysterio survives in this one. I'm curious if they're going to be setting up like a Sinister Six tie-in movie. Is it going to be Spider-Man 3 fights, whoever, Doc Ock or Green Goblin or someone, whatever? Or are they going to be leading into their Sinister Six-esque movie for the next time around?
that's a very good question because I know in Spider-Man Far From Home, no, I'm sorry, Spider-Man Homecoming, the first one, the Scorpion wanted to know who Spider-Man's identity is, and
Mm-hmm.
then now he knows.
Now everybody
Now
knows.
everybody knows. So it's pretty much another callback to Iron Man, where Iron Man outed himself, and this one Spider Man was outed.
Yeah, that was like it's kind of interesting, like because they kept bringing up Iron Man, like who's going to be the next Iron Man, and they kept like Peter kept saying, I'm trying to keep my secret identity safe, and it's like if you pay enough attention, you can kind of see the parallels or like the reveal of Peter Parker's identity being revealed to everybody. You can kind of feel the parallel between that and the first Iron Man. So like if they want Spider-Man to be the next Iron Man for their next set of phases for the MCU, then I guess you got to do him like Iron Man, where he has a bunch of tech and he's gonna have he's gonna have his identity known. But in this case, he's not the good guy; he's the bad guy because everyone thinks he's responsible for the Mysterio incident.
Well, I mean, that's a good question because I think it's going to be like in the comic books and the TV show where some people are going to think he's bad because the way the media portrays him, and other people are Spider-Man fans and they're going to say, no, I believe in Spider-Man. I believe that he does good.
I kind of wish like Aunt May didn't know, just because it would have been kind of fun. Like, hey, Spider-Man's the villain. What if Aunt May thought Spider-Man was a villain, and Aunt May hates Spider-Man, but oh, it's your nephew. That would have been fun.
Yeah, and then they could have
But
used
whatever, she's on his side.
Amy Pascal's idea that Aunt May was a spy. And
I doubt Amy Pascal has anything to do with these movies.
She's a producer.
You're good. Yeah, but I mean that just means you signed a check. That's all that means.
You know what I hate?
We'll use your money, but under the condition you do nothing. And she's like, easiest job I've ever had. Why doesn't Sony operate like this more often? It kind of did, and that's why all your movies blow.
But you know what I hate? How she makes a big deal about herself in the Spider-Man movie. If you watch the producing credits, she has this big animation setting up, Amy Pascal Productions. And it's like, come on, you're the one that ruined everybody's favorite franchises. You ruined Ghostbusters. You ruined Spider-Man with Amazing Spider-Man. You got Kevin Feige comes in to try to help you. And, you think that you're larger than life. You're like, oh, I'm the one that's giving the gift of Spider-Man to you. Man, Amy Pascal, I hate her.
I hate all of Sony. I mean, you watch these Spider-Man movies that are good, and you're forced to stare at the Sony logo for 15 seconds as it turns into the Columbia logo, and on the bottom in not terribly small print it says a Sony company, and you're like, fuck you, Sony.
So Sony just keeps teasing.
Like, nobody likes your movies. I don't need to stare at your stupid ass logo. The only reason you're still afloat is because of PlayStation
and Marvel.
Pricks. Barely. You got lucky with Venom. You might not get lucky again. Now you want to make a Morpheus movie? I hope that turns into dog shit.
And
Mobius, the living vampire.
What I like about Kevin Feige is how he trolls everybody. When they drop the trailer first, Endgame is coming out, and Avengers Endgame's coming out, and Kevin Feige or somebody leaked it and said, Spider-Man Homecoming takes place before Infinity War. So he goes on a school trip, and then he's coming back, and that's why he's on a bus in Avengers Endgame. Then after... Did
he say that, or was that just kind of like people like suggesting that's how it would go? Because, well, I mean, people probably weren't... People who have any sense would realize that, of course, Spider-Man Homecoming is going to get a sequel. You just finally got Spider-Man back. You're not going to only make one movie with him, so no duh. But I mean, was that like, well, maybe it makes like, because the beginning of Infinity War is him like, oh, I just came back from a trip or whatever. So like, it would make sense that Far From Home leads into Infinity War, but nope.
Well, I mean,
it takes place right after Endgame.
He didn't say it, but he put all the pieces there, and we put it together, and he never said, no, you guys are wrong, or this is how it's going to go. He just said, here are the pieces. I'm not going to say anything. All the clues are here. What conclusions do you come up with? Mm-hmm. And then Endgame comes out, and then the trailer's like, because of the snap, you got Mysterio from a superhero from a different dimension that's fighting. And then everyone's really excited. It's like, wow, multiverses, multi-dimensions, the Marvel universe is growing. Oh, hey, when are we going to see the live-action Spider-Verse with Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and Tom Holland?
I mean, I doubt a live-action Spider-Verse is going to happen. I know a lot of people want that to happen. Now, going back to like, hey, you get for stunt casting, you get like a semi-high-profile actor for your villains for your Spider-Man movies. How weird would that be if you got Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire to be in the next movie as like one of the villains or something?
Oh my gosh, That would blow everyone's mind. But I think Tobey Maguire would be too expensive. Didn't they say that if
He's too expensive. He's not doing
he's
nothing.
not doing anything? But
What was the last time you saw him in a movie?
that's true. But I think he would still say, "Hey, for Spider-Man 4, I was promised $40 million, and I'm gonna get my $40 million."
I don't think that's how Hollywood works.
That's not how.
Thanks for trying, though.
No, but that's what like they're gonna say to Tobey Maguire. Hey, that's not how Hollywood works. Because I heard,
No, that's what I'm saying to you.
and
That's not how Hollywood
and that's
works.
what I'm gonna say to Tobey Maguire when he wants his 40.
He's not a lead. No, because he wouldn't think that.
Anything else?
He's not helming the biggest franchises anymore, and he hasn't done anything in a while.
Anything else you want to say about spoilers?
J. Jonah Jameson's back. That's pretty nuts.
That was awesome. Everybody lost their minds in the movie theater. Agree to disagree?
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't have more to say about it, but okay.
Well, I mean, what I did have to say was that when everybody saw J. Jonah Jameson appear, I think it was a Easter egg or a throwback to the video game, right? Because he's like supposed to be like this media guy that's very conservative, just like in the video game.
Yeah, people just say like kind of alt-righty, podcasty thing because because how does like an editor-in-chief in a newspaper come across in a modern day in 2019, 2020, whatever? It's like, I don't know who runs the New York Times or the New York Post or the Wall Street Journal or whatever. So, I mean, such a huge, larger-than-life character could only really exist in a visual media, no better way than some weird online-based news, whatever.
Now, what is the universe going to be like? Because they have J. Jonah Jameson in this one, and they have J. Jonah Jameson in the Tobey Maguire version. So is it maybe there's a multiverse going on?
No.
It was just fun.
Because nobody says, is Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield the same? Did he fight the Green Goblin twice? Except the second time. Did he fight the Green Goblin 3 times and he fought the Green Goblin twice as Harry Osborn? No, nobody thinks that.
And everyone was so excited to see J. Jonah Jameson that the movie theater floors got very sticky, if you know what I mean.
No, I don't.
Well, Google it and you will know. So that was the first stinger in the movie, was J. Jonah Jameson makes an exciting appearance. And then you got the second stinger in the movie, which was the Skrulls are in the movie. So I guess they must have shot that stinger while they were shooting Captain Marvel.
That, or maybe Ben Mendelsohn was on vacation or something. I don't know. They probably shot that in an afternoon. Just sit in this car and just talk in front of the green screen in the car.
Hey, before you take off your mask, let's shoot this quick scene for something else. So there's that. So that means that they're going to be teasing, or their Marvel's moving the direction of a secret war.
So it was interesting. Like they kind of teased it in the middle of the movie. I remember, like, Nick Fury said, like, what, like the Kree have secret agents or something. So like, I guess the Kree Skrull war is like being teased. I don't know if it's going to be coming for like a Captain Marvel 2, or if if it culminates to that in phase 4, or in phase 5. Like, I don't know how these events will transpire in a future movie, but it's all there. And then at the end, what's his nose? Nick Fury is on a spaceship, and apparently for comics or whatever, that's supposed to be Sword, some kind of, I don't know, shield spaceship. I don't know. Guess Sword and Shield. That's something. Get it? I don't know. I didn't look into it, but it's a thing in the comics. I don't read the comics. I'm not a nerd.
Yeah. So if you people know more, write us in the comments or send us a voicemail on the Anchor app. Look for us at Platitude Era on Anchor, and let us know more about that, or send us a link to people that know more about that.
Or you can just go on like a Marvel wiki and go look it up yourself. I don't care.
Yeah, but I want to involve.
You can do it.
I want the community's participation. We're a network of comic book superhero Marvel heads.
Mm,
Now, what were your favorite?
doesn't sound like it by your lack of expertise.
Moving on to the Easter eggs, what were your favorite Easter eggs?
Uh, I have a suspicion or theory or something. I know Marvel Studios just got the rights from Fox to everything now, but I have a slight inkling that Fantastic Four might be coming for Phase 4.
Ooh,
Because I mean, like, Avengers Tower got rebuilt. It makes perfect sense to transfer that over to being the Baxter Building. Like under the like, there's like a little construction fence or something right at the bottom of where Avengers Tower is. It's like 1, 2, 3, and then it has a question mark, and it says like, we can't wait to show you what's coming next. So I mean, I like it. I'll probably be eating my words, but I mean, all the pieces are there for them to be setting up Fantastic Four
yeah,
for the next phase for Phase 4.
makes sense. Phase 4, you got to put Fantastic Four in it. Uh,
I mean, it would be a rush job, I guess, or maybe that's how you close off Phase 4. So you have 3 years, 3 or 4 years. I don't know how long Phase 4. Everything's such a cloud, so it's hard to say because we knew about the like essentially the groundwork for Phase 3. God, I don't remember how long ago. It was like right after Age of Ultron or right after Ant-Man came out. So I don't know. And then the fact that Marvel's coming back to Comic-Con, hopefully we'll get some answers about the future of the MCU.
and even if you don't get Fantastic Four in Phase 4, I'm sure they'll probably do what in Spider-Man 3, like the symbiote, and then Fantastic Four will make a cameo where they have to separate the symbiote from Spider-Man, like in the comics.
I don't know, because like I feel like Venom is such a wrench into everything. I don't know if they would tie Venom into these, if they would fold Venom into these movies, or would they have Spider-Man get the symbiote in a different way, or they like say fuck it and fuck Sony. We're not going to do the symbiote. We're going to do something else different and weird, like when Marvel originally wanted to make an Inhumans movie as a fuck you to the X-Men going to Fox. So I don't know what's gonna happen.
I was just
It would be cool. Everybody loves the black suit Spider-Man, which we technically got in this movie, but it's not like the symbiote suit, and everyone loves the symbiote suit. But I don't know. Who's to say? I mean, if Sam Raimi couldn't get the symbiote suit to work for Spider-Man 3, who's to say we can get it working for the MCU?
I was just trying to think of different possibilities. How everything is primed to include the Fantastic Four. I mean, you saw the Easter eggs of Fantastic Four in this movie. Spider Man.
Well, I mean, I'm just speculating. I'm throwing darts at a board, and I'm hoping for the best. I mean, it's unlikely. It's probably just Phase 4. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's been like loads of like people making dumb hypotheses about like what the future like of Phase 3 was going to be or something, and they were probably all wrong.
Yeah, but I mean, every dart that you're throwing on the board is a
It's only one
bullseye.
dart, and it's it's a bullseye because I threw it at my own board, and then I stuck my board on the wall.
The Easter egg I liked is how they threw in Hydro Man, like the actual character that plays the water character. They talked about his origin and his name in the movie. They worked that in there as an Easter egg.
Yeah, I'm guess like I don't know. I guess this movie kind of feels like a whole like a whole homage or a payoff for hey, these are kind of like the lesser known characters. Like a Hydro Man would never get a movie by himself. There's a Molten Man who'd never get a movie by himself. Technically, a Mysterio should have never gotten a movie by himself. Like when Sam Raimi was making Spider-Man 4, he was just gonna have him like have Mysterio be like a villain, like just kind of come in at the beginning of his movie just to be arrested. So like that's how little Mysterio seemed to matter. I don't know. I mean, Shocker didn't matter in the last movie. I mean, Mysterio feels low tier, but they made him high tier in this, and it worked out in spades. So, I mean, we'll see.
Well, here's another comparison with Sam Raimi. In Spider-Man 4, he wanted both the Vulture and Mysterio, correct?
Yeah, well, like Mysterio's just he's at the beginning. That's your fun little whatever for the beginning of the movie, and then Vulture would be the main baddie.
And now we got in the later movies, we got the Vulture and we got Mysterio. Check off Sam
Yeah,
Raimi's list.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
And it's, I guess, also it's like, hey, we can't. How many times do we need to see Doc Ock? How many times do we need to see Green Goblin? Maybe we'll see Chameleon. Maybe we'll see Electro done right. Maybe we'll see whomever else is not like on that list of villains for Spider-Man in his rogues gallery.
and another Easter egg I liked was how Spider-Man did not want to be the next Iron Man, but he just kept becoming the next Iron Man by accident. And one of these things was when he was working in his lab, they were playing the song from the Tony Stark likes, Back in Black.
Well, yeah, just you shove in any ACD and there you go. It's Tony Stark.
And lastly, I like how they kind of teased that something was up with Nick Fury. I mean, I had to see this movie more than once, and keeping in mind that maybe this isn't the real Nick Fury, and there were little hints in there that it wasn't the real Nick Fury.
If you're looking through a magnifying glass and if you're trying, like, because at certain points it's just like I'm just watching Sam Jackson, so Sam Jackson acting like Sam Jackson doesn't seem like too far off from whatever the character of Sam Jackson is playing. But they did put in those little details, like, oh, he's Quentin's from Earth, just not your Earth, and instead of saying not our Earth, so something as small as that nobody would really catch. Technically, leads into the fact that that Nick Fury was not who he was said to be to begin with.
Which I love that. I love the attention to detail that Marvel does. Do you think that there's a small, like for a frame, where Nick Fury's eye patch is switched, even if it's for like a split second?
It's entirely possible. I don't know. I don't know if it was set up that like, oh, the scrolls could fuck up their shape shifting at one point or another. I don't know. Technically, you could mix up an eye patch. I guess it's too small a detail and nobody would notice. I'd have to go back and watch the movie frame by frame.
When it
Who's to
comes out on
say?
video.
But I haven't seen like other people's videos like pointing it out. There's a scene where he screws up his eye patch.
So let us know, people, if you find the scene with the screwed up eye patch. What else do you want to talk about before we sign off?
Nah, nothing. Just, I don't know. I guess I'm excited for Phase 4. The future's looking bright.
And this is one of my favorite topics, but we never get to include it in our podcast unless there's something worth mentioning. Cheeseman. You love Cheeseman?
No.
I do. So you told me that Kevin Feige and Amy Pascal got into a fight during one of their meetings.
I wouldn't call it a fight. I'd say she essentially kicked him out of her office.
So just because they can't get along, not only in real life.
I don't know about that. I think you're putting that on them. I don't know if they can't get along. Apparently, they were able to work together eventually. That was just an initial meeting. I don't know.
I don't think so, because if you watch the credits for Spider-Man.
Well, you've been wrong before, so
yeah,
wouldn't be too big a shock to be wrong this time.
Look, Kevin Feige provided me the clues, and I'm just putting them together and coming up with my own conclusions. If you watch the credits, It says producers, and instead of having all the producers together, you have one producer, Amy Pascal. Then you got a scene or a credit change, producer, Kevin Feige. So instead of putting all the producers together, they were separate. Like, they can't even be listed in the same.
Well, this is like this is distributed by Sony, not by Marvel or Disney or whatever. That's how this arrangement has been working out, where Disney's been able to keep the merchandise, but Sony's been keeping the distribution. So there you go.
Alrighty, everybody. You heard our horse spiel. We are big fans of the movies. We overanalyze movies, talk about every detail. Thank you for going on this ride. If you haven't subscribed to us on YouTube, that's okay. You can always subscribe when you get a chance. Check us out on the go. You can't watch us on YouTube. You could take us on the go, whether you're on a run at the gym, studying in the library, whenever, by listening to us on Spotify or downloading the Anchor app. That's all I got. You got anything else?
No, you should stop throwing it to me because I never do.
All right. So instead of saying goodbye, I'm going to tell everyone, Bo. It's an Italian word that nobody knows what it means. Bo.